Ask me again. Did we hit the record button?
Did we hit the record button?
We did.
All right. Wow. There's such a heavy presence.
There's our
this
B-roll.
side. There's no one on the bride's side. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. If you don't know me, my name is Vivian Yip. I'm the co-lead for Investor here in Austin.
And she's badass, everybody.
I just love what I do. I love helping other people thrive in whatever they choose to as their path. If you didn't know, I'm also a realtor here in Austin, and I'm also the founder of Hestia, which is the Greek goddess of hospitality, hearth and home. And our company does midterm rentals. We help individual investors make the connections with the people they want to do business with, like the insurance companies and corporate relocation companies. And we are a collaborative effort where we have power with inventory, beautiful inventory. That way we can work with these companies that might have placements wherever it may be. So, but it's not about me tonight. It is about Kristin Gerst, all the way from Dallas. She is someone that it's Lydia, hi. She's someone that when did we meet?
We met when we did the Quest statewide tour.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we were invited by Quest to go and talk about we were in Houston, Dallas, and
Austin, Dallas, all in with the 2 weeks.
And we were comparing different investing niches.
And so she and I were fast friends. Like, I met this woman, I'm like, dude, she's totally badass.
Let's go
like,
get a
we're
drink.
gonna let's hang out.
In addition to what you're going to see here tonight, not only is she amazing with notes, but she's also a short-term rental investor, dabbles in midterm rentals as well, done flips. I mean, she's got the whole gamut in her resume.
I'm old. I've been doing this a while.
So anyways, with great pleasure, welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. Please save your questions to the very end.
Yeah.
This is a very heavy deck.
You know what? Seriously, it is. And there's going to be a lot of information flying at you tonight. Take out your phones, open up the notepad, go, okay, here's a question I have, and just save it to the end because I'm real easy to get sidetracked. And you ask me a question, I'm going to throw a joke and like a limerick in with that, and then we're like way off tangent. My name is Kristin Gerst. I have been a full-time real estate investor for just near 20 years. Full-time meaning no W-2. No job, no office. Did I start remodeling and stuff before that? Absolutely, I did. Like most people do. But yeah, 20 years full time. I've been through ups, downs, seen tons of stuff. I got my start, cut my teeth with rental properties, low income. And I bought started kind of early mid 2000s. By 2008, July 2008, I had 61 doors all rented Section 8. And then the market collapsed. And I was in Dallas, everything south of 30. And I went from being worth millions on paper to being in the red millions on paper. And nobody would give me any money at all because I had nothing. And I mean, I looked like a train wreck. So I got into owner financing, right? Because I'd like have a tenant leave and I'd take 10% down and I'd go in and, create an owner finance mortgage note. And I did that for a while. And then I was like, well, I'm out of properties. Nobody's leaving, but I got all these buyers. So then I got into doing it for other investors. And I had one investor, I don't know, I did probably 150, 200 properties for him over a couple of years. And so as far as people are like, how many transactions have you been involved with? I don't know. You stop keeping track after a while. People ask me, I'm like, dude, yeah, I think I sold that house once. They're like, oh yeah, I just bought this. I'm like, yeah, I know that house. But other than that, so we're going to talk about note investing strategies today. This is one of those things. I like to say that wholesaling is like your GED level of real estate investing. It's your high school diploma. And then you graduate into maybe like flipping or, getting into rentals. And then if you want to get your doctoral degree in real estate investing, you go to notes. How many people here have ever owner financed anything? Yeah, we got one person back there. One. Anybody else? You want 2, 3, kinda? I don't even know what that means. I don't know if you like.
I partnered with someone who's done it. So
Okay, you partnered with somebody, so it's like, okay, that person's kind of in my orbit, and I kind of know what it was. Again, if you've done owner financing, you're already a note investor, whether you know it or not. And it's a very easy way to get into it. So I'm going to start with kind of that note investing strategy. And it's just an easy way to do it. So why do I like mortgage notes? One, a house is a liability. And I don't care who you are. Like, they're like, no, I just bought my first asset. No, F off. You bought a liability, right? Because all of a sudden it hails and you got to replace that roof. Your water heater goes out, floods the whole house. You've got a tenant that just for whatever reason, goes nutso and tags your walls and graffitis. It happens. It happened to me, So again, that's a liability. Who always makes money in this country? Anybody know the answer?
Yes.
The banks. And what are the banks in the business of? Lending money. The banks are never in the business of owning property. And we saw that with the mortgage meltdown crisis. So in 2008, what happened? They got all of these REOs back and they got them off their books as soon as possible and got their money working again. And what happened? They took all these big bailouts and everybody was so pissed off because they made so much money that year. Why? Because they didn't have any properties. The properties are always going to be responsible for taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancies, any type of theft. I used to own properties in really bad neighborhoods in Dallas. And April of 2007, I had 5 outdoor ACs stolen off houses in 1 week. In 1 week. And it was terrible. It was like I would stay up all night looking at the price of copper to know, oh my God, is the price of copper gone up? Are my houses getting vandalized and stolen for copper? So I tell everybody, be the bank, lend money. Don't be responsible for that house. No phone calls, no repairs. No, my toilet is clogged. My AC doesn't work. Well, I am your lender, not your landlord. No vacancies, no make-readies, no management fees. That is true. And everybody goes, somebody's got to manage your note. Guess what? In my world, the borrower pays for it. So you're not even paying a management fee, period. Your borrower pays for it. There's none of those extra costs. Set cash flow. What I mean by set cash flow is when you're running a bunch of rental property. How many people have rental properties? Okay, so this is going to be a small little jump for y'all. Okay, I equate rental properties with owner finance notes. But why owner finance notes are way better is that your cash flow is set. You don't ever have to worry that I'm going to get a phone call that a fridge has gone out or that I have to replace something or the fence fell down and I've got to send a guy over. Because as soon as you send one repairman over, that's your profit for the month. And so you've got to be prepared for that as a rental property owner. Great on those couple of years where we had 40% appreciation in 1 year. That was awesome. Is that the norm? Absolutely not. I mean, in Texas, we go up, 5 to 7%? Vivian, you got that number? Is it 5 to 7%?
Yeah.
Something like that, right? And we just go up steadily. We are not California. We're not New York City. We're not Florida. We're not Las Vegas. So we go up in slow and steady increments. And so you've got to know that you're not doing this for inflationary purposes, or you're not doing this to get appreciation of your asset. You're doing it for cash flow. So what I found was when I had those 61 doors, I was working every day for those properties and I was keeping them afloat, and I wasn't really experiencing wealth or getting to do something awesome. But when I turned them all into paper, all of a sudden I'm like, I've got all of this money. How do I have all this money? And those 61 doors, I sold for $50 less than what the rent was. So I even sold it at less. And then I put them into a spreadsheet, right? Put everything into a spreadsheet. And on my rental side, right, going into the past, I had all of my vacancies, all of my make readies, all of my repairs, what have you. And then I went into just my notes, and it turned out I made a hell of a lot more money doing notes, even at less money per month. So again, I already know that your profits are higher, which is why I go back to be the bank. Don't get sucked into this. Oh my gosh, in 30 years when my rental property is paid off, I don't know about you, I'm pushing 50. When I'm 80, I'm not going to give a shit. All right, so strategies of note investing. 1, originating mortgage notes. Owner financing. That is where you're going to buy a property, maybe fix it up. Maybe if you listen to me, you don't fix it at all. Whatever you want. Yeah, owner finance it as is. You're going to take money down, and then you're going to take a certain amount of payments per month. It's all set on little apps on your phone, so you know what that monthly payment is. That's one, and it's a great, if you're getting started in this, it's a great way to do it because it's super easy to get money to do that. Non-performing mortgage notes. I am a strict note investor. I originate very few notes now. I originate a ton when I got started, right? Because that's how you get started in this. Now I like to buy existing mortgage notes. I am probably 1% of note investors. Very few note investors want to buy performing mortgages. I don't get it. I'm lazy. I don't want to do any work. So the idea of buying a performing mortgage is that I'm going to buy something, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars, and I'm going to get this much in cash. So let's say that I buy a mortgage and I get $1,000 a month. Well, I just gave myself a $12,000 a year raise, and that is how I look at it. And I'm happy with that. I have to do no work. The second I buy that note, it starts making money for me. And I love that. Not everybody agrees with me, so they do non-performing notes. That's work. But the returns on investment on these are huge. And so that's why you find probably 99% of note investors are into the non-performing note space. Gentleman back here and I had a recent conversation a few minutes ago, and he goes, "Look, most of the stuff I find are non-performing notes." I'm like, dude, you got non-performing notes? I can sell those in I don't know, what did I say, an hour, 2 hours? I'm like, just send them to me. I'm like, I'll get you the best price. Not a problem. Performing mortgage notes, that's what I like. Wholesaling mortgage notes. So let's say that y'all are anybody out here wholesaling real estate? Yeah, you have, right, you know what I'm talking about. If you're out there actively looking for properties, I hear it from wholesalers all the time. They're like, oh my God. I'm like, I was just asked. They're like, I don't have a property, but I got a note I want to sell. And they go in the trash of wholesalers all the time. I'm like, don't put those in the trash. Just send it to me. I'll give you a price. And then go, mark down that price. Go, oh, she's going to pay $90,000 for that? Well, she's going to pay you $80,000. Dude, we'll do a JV agreement. Super easy. So if you come across that stuff, remember this lady here, the blonde lady, she likes to buy that. So, and I'll price it out, and then you can go do the deal, and then we'll sign a JV agreement, and you'll get paid at closing. What type of investor are you? Lazy. That's a woman after my own heart. Totally lazy. So yield, return on investment, or cash flow. There is no wrong answer, right? And so a lot of times people are like, oh, well, how are you buying notes? And I'm like, well, I always submit the offer in some percentage of unpaid principal balance. Okay. And that's just a way to buy notes, especially performing notes. But there's a lot of investors out there that buy on yield. Now, when I'm actually evaluating a note to be, that's the offer I'm going to give it in, but I'm going to go through it and I'm going to look at it based on yield. And so, all right, the face value of this note is say 9%, but I know that the yield that my investors need are like 12%. So I'm going to put that into a calculator and calculate that out and figure out what I need to buy it at to get it at a 12% yield. And then I'm going to put in my commission for that. and that's the number that I'm going to buy at. And I figure out what that is, percentage of unpaid principal balance at the time. Some I hear are just on cash flow, right? And some are on return on investment. So again, it doesn't matter, how you look at things, as long as you feel good about it, right? And you're investing in the note for your reasons, great. But with most notes, you really can't lose. Cash on hand. This is an expensive, unfortunately, part of it. And why the barriers of entry are so hard. You need a lot of cash. Like, Vivian sent me a thing, and she goes, oh, like the first thing she sent out is like, she buys, and what I do primarily is I buy from mom and pops, like a lot. Like, I give me the biggest freaking portfolio you can, because I'm going to pool all of that together, and then I'm going to send it to an institutional buyer. Like, I've got a lot of institutional buyers. The minimum that I can even get in the lobby and talk to these guys is $5 million. I have to have cash on hand to be able to close these. So when you're talking about what it takes to get started, and you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to play at the level I'm at. And by the way, I'm a small fish. I'm a very, very small fish. I have no illusions that I'm like something awesome in the note space. I am not. But I serve a purpose, and I'm kind of like the liaison to get mom and pops, these one-offs, to get them to the bigger institutional investors. So you do need a lot of cash to do this. You have to ask yourself, money, skill, time. How much time are you involving? How much skill do you have? How much money do you have to invest? If you've got money, it's easy. You just go and start buying these things up. And you can pay for non-performing notes. Texas is a little harder because it's such a great state. It's really viewed as like the number one state for note investing. But if you're willing to go maybe next door to New Mexico or Louisiana or Oklahoma, you can pick up non-performing notes for a couple $1,000s. So you can get into non-performing notes pretty fast. You will change and evolve over time, right? So you get started in this. You might start with owner financing, but be prepared. You are going to go, all right, so I've started with this. Let me add some new thing to my tool belt. Or you're going to meet somebody and they're going to contact you and go, hey, I've got this note. Do you want to buy this? And you're like, well, I don't know. And then you're going to do some research, go, okay, sure. And I think this is a good price, and you'll pay for it. And then you're going to, go in and work it out, and you'll learn from there. Always remember that money is finite. And I tell everybody that. I don't care who you are. You will run out of money doing this. All right. So you've got to find other sources. I've been doing this for a long time, 20 years full time. I started Capricorn Mortgage to answer the call for owner finance investors to be able to sell their mortgage notes at a decent price. Before I came on the market, 75 to 80% was of unpaid principal balance. That was the go-to. I pay 90 to 95, and I always have. It pisses off a lot of my competitors. I love that. Some really big names in Texas, totally fun. One of them, older gentleman, last month told me, you don't need to like pay so much for your notes. You could still, make money if you offered less. And I just started laughing, and I'm like, wow, wouldn't get the volume that I'm doing right now. So yeah. So I know I get under people's skin because I offer too much. That's cool. Number one key to success is to learn how to finance. So how do you get people to finance this stuff? When you're starting out in note investing, find the deal first. The money will come later. Do not skip that. You get it? What do we have? We have Facebook at our disposal. There are so many note investing Facebook groups. Get on there, go, I have this note under contract. I need somebody with financing. Can you help me buy this thing? Or just, unload it to somebody. There are tons of buyers out there and a great resource. So get the note first and then worry about how you're going to pay for it later. Sources of financing notes, subject to existing. I love subject to. I did a ton in 08, 09, and 2010. It's made a huge resurrection right now. Am I actively going? No, I'm too busy. And so I rely on wholesalers to bring me stuff. But this is a great tool. So if you don't know how to do a subject to deal, learn. Because you buy the property subject to the existing financing, and then you're going to wrap it. All right? It's called a wraparound mortgage, and you're going to create that. Why you do that is because that subject to, that might have a 4% interest rate on it, right? That note that you pick up. So you're going to acquire that property with a 4% interest rate. And then you're going to wrap around a mortgage. So let's say the unpaid principal balance on that is $100,000. Well, now you're going to sell that property for, say, $150,000. And you're going to charge 10% interest on it. Well, you're going to make 6% on that $50,000 that's above it, but you're going to make 10% or 10% on that $50,000 that's above it. And then that money that you borrowed, that $100,000 that's at 4%, you're going to make 6% on that money. So you've just kind of magic money out of nowhere. And that's why you have magic money. I know, that's close to magic money. He's dear to my heart. And that's why you want to do wraparound mortgages instead of, letting somebody assume anything, assume an underlying debt and give a second. Conventional financing, I did this a ton. And everybody's always scared about the due on sale clause. Don't be. The due on sale clause specifically states the bank has the option to foreclose, not the obligation. Okay, option, which is choice, obligation is forced to. I personally had Bank of America call me on one of my properties. And I was like, okay, here we go. Remember, 61. So I had a ton of this, right? And I had, I don't know, with Bank of America, between my husband and myself, 15, 20 loans. I had 24 on my personal credit, another 20 some on my husband's credit. They were 8-plexes, 4-plexes. So, the stores were all crazy. But with that single family house, when Bank of America called me up and said, hey, we've noticed that you sold this property. And I was like, and I'm like, I chose, I'm just going to tell the truth. So I told the dude what I did. And I'm like, the whole time while I'm explaining that I owner finance this thing, and I'm like, yeah, I did this. And I wrapped this mortgage. And then I'm sitting there on the phone thinking, oh my God, where am I coming up with the money for this? Because they're calling the note, right? And I'm like, I'm screwed. And then he goes, are you going to keep making your mortgage payments? And I was like, yes. That was, yeah, I'm going to keep making them. He goes, okay, that's all we want to know. Hung up, and I was like, score. I'm like, they don't care. Caveat to that. There's a lot of interest rates now, and I have been talking about this to people. That was back when interest rates were low, and mid 2000s, people don't remember this because memories are short, right? But 7% was free money. I got 7%. People were like, dude, you did good on that interest rate. I'm like, I know I did, right? And I had some 6.5s, and people were like, dude, you're rock on with your credit score. And I'm like, I know. But when you're looking at it now, after having so many years of 3 and 4% interest rates that people have wrapped, how's a bank feel about you wrapping a 3% interest rate when they can turn around and go lend that money out at 8? So I'm telling people to be very cautious with the story I just told, because 10 years ago is not today. And so you do need to be aware of that, and just have it in the back of your mind. If your note gets cold or gets called, call somebody like me that is going to be able to buy that note so that you don't get it for it, because then you're up for a lawsuit, right? If I was a homeowner and I'm making all my monthly payments and that house gets foreclosed on, yeah, I'm going to be suing you for all of that. So you don't want to end up there. Again, you can avoid that. Sell the note, pay off the underlying lien, and you can move on. What does my gut tell me? The banks are in the business of lending money, not in the business of owning property. So if you've got a property that is paying on time all the time, they're probably not even going to notice. Warehouse financing. So this is after you've got maybe like 5 to 10 on your credit, and then you're going to move those loans over to. Once you owner finance, once you wrap a conventional loan, you cannot refinance that loan. So I want you all to remember that. Okay, so be very, very cautious about warehouse financing when you're, if you've got a bunch of rentals and you're thinking, oh, I'm just gonna go wrap this debt. It might get a little sticky doing that. But if you just have like one conventional loan, very easy. Subject to is a beautiful way to do it. Until the subject to original homeowner gets upset 2 to 3 years down the line when they go to buy a new house because their credit score is now an 800 instead of the 400 that it used to be when they weren't making their mortgage payments, and they hate you even though you were like their savior 3 years before, and now you're the antichrist. How many times have we had that phone call? Like a lot. And so with those, when I get those angry phone calls, I sold out most of my subject to stuff just for that reason. Lines of credit. I love lines of credit. Lines of credit have gotten expensive. But if you can go into small banks, that is where you want to go get a relationship with a small regional bank to do that. And again, they'll give you a line of credit. And sometimes you're going to have to put money on deposit to do that, but it's wholly worth it, especially if they give you like 5 to 1. So, they'll give you $500,000 if you put $100,000 down. That sounds like a lot of money. Okay, they'll give you $100,000 if you put $20,000 down. And again, go around talk. Don't ever take if you get told no in the first one you walk into, you need to grow some thicker skin and just go, okay, you need to go visit 20, because one, your better deal is at the next place that you're going to go to, but you're going to get told no all the time. And you don't know the reason for this. And it might be that their books are just crap and they've got a ton of defaults on that, and the bank examiner's coming in next week and they can't lend it out any more money. So, you've gotta just take the no's and go to the next place and go visit, 24 banks to find the best deal. Private lenders, I use a ton of private lenders. High net worth individuals, they're great. The ones that really don't care, and if they make it easy for you, that's even better. I actually will pay more money for less drama. Hard money lenders, and so the caveat to hard money lenders is they cannot have an owner-occupant living in their house. So it's kind of a don't ask, don't tell situation. You can't advertise that you owner finance and wrapped hard money. They have SEC guidelines on their funds for the big ones. That's why I prefer private lenders to hard money investors. But just know, maybe your plan is, hey, I'm going to have this, I'm going to owner finance it, and 6 months down the road, I'm going to sell the note. And all of that is good as long as you pick the right buyer. If your buyer doesn't perform, then that's bad. Crowdfunding. Great if you go to like IRA meetings, talk to a bunch of people that maybe have small IRAs, and you get them to pool money together to lend to you to buy a note. And you can get people like that to lend to you. You can't get banks to lend to you to buy a note, but you can get them to lend to you to buy a property that you will then owner finance and turn into a note. And there's a difference there. All right, the power of the amortization table. I know it's small. No. This is not for reading every number. I'm going to show you the highlights. So this is a 43,000. I don't even know where I got this. I did this in 30 years, rated at 9.5%, and your monthly payment is $361.57. If they pay every single payment for 30 years, that loan, that $43,000 loan, turns into $130,000. The exciting part of an amortization table is what takes place in the first 5 years. So after year one, the loss of principal that you have on that $43,000 is $265.16. And you have earned $4,073 in interest. Right? So in that $4,000, that's completely profit. Right? And you are not penalized for that 265. After 2 years, 556 is lost in principal, and you've made $8,120 and some cents in interest. 3 years, 877 principal lost, $12,000 made. After 4 years, $1,229 lost. And after 5 years, you've only lost $1,600 in principal, but you've made $20,000 in pure, unadulterated profit that you never have to pay back to anybody. That's completely yours, that you don't have to hold back anything for that water heater that's going to go out, or maybe that AC that's going to bust. None of that. You just get to go spend that $20,000 on pedicures and happiness.
Or in your case, a yacht.
Okay, I did buy a yacht.
Nice.
It is good. It is light. It is nice. The power of an amortization table. So I love this story because I hated this thing. I bought it from a guy who I greatly respected, and he said he was in trouble, so I bought his note. And then I hated that I did this because I'm like, I'm not in the business of charity. I couldn't sell the damn thing. So I bought it, I closed on it, used up my cash, unpaid principal balance, $149,000. It was amortized over 40 years. That should have been the key that told me, what are you doing, Kristin? Why are you buying this note? Because none of my institutional buyers would touch the 40-year AM. They want something normal. They want a 10-year, a 20-year, 15-year, or a 30-year, not a 40-year. But I did it. I sold it to a private investor in September. Now, mind you, I usually do this arbitrage fashion, by the way, the name of my yacht. And I arbitrage mortgage notes. So I will buy the mortgage note and I will sell it instantaneously, right? I have that buyer lined up, their money set table. Yeah, I've got to put some cash up for it, but I already know that the cash is on the backside, so I'm getting that cash back at the end of the day. Not a big deal. With this, yeah, I was out 8 months and it irritated me. So in that time of this note, it lost $211 in principal because it's a 40-year note, right? So you saw what the 30-year note did. Well, this is that on steroids. So it's not just the first 5 years. It's like the first 15 years are like this for a 40-year note. So I lost the $211. Interest collected over 7 months, $8,700. That's right. Like, are you kidding me? Like, no money out of pocket. It was great. Hold on. So, and with this, I didn't buy it at par. I bought it my usual, right? I bought it my usual. So I ended up making an additional 5% on this. So it was like, I don't know, it was about the same. I think I ended up making in total like $16,000, $17,000 on this deal. And it was just because I held this note 8 months and it happened to be AM correctly. So when you're note investing, look at where it is in the AM chart schedule. Look at how much principal is paying down. Because if it's in the early stages, all right, go, hey, I'll buy that. Know that you might hold it for a little bit, but then you can sell it and make a lovely profit. I mean, 8 months was still in the same calendar year. And I realized, I don't know, $16,000, $17,000. And I didn't do any repairs. I didn't do anything. I just literally kind of sent some wires and accepted some payments from my note servicer. Parts of a mortgage note. Performance history, very important. How well is that borrower paying? So I always ask for a mortgage payment history. Loan to value, very important. So that is how much that loan is to the value of the property. What can you sell that property for if you take that loan back? Okay, so always remember that loan to value needs to be low. Usually, typically, it's like 80% loan to value is like my ceiling. Will I go a little bit higher than that? Sure, but I'm going to take a higher discount off that note to compensate for it. Once I start hitting 90, 95, I'm nervous. And then if I hit 100%, okay, that investor goes on my asshole list and gets an asshole tax. Anytime he wants to buy a note, he gets 2% less than what I would offer to anybody else just because they're a bad human. Interest rate. This is a fun one. Why? Because we are in this stagflation of interest rates, right? We have been for the last 18 months. It used to be when interest rates were 3 and 4%, we were selling owner finance at 10%, 9 and 10%. Well, it's super hard now because all of our property values are sky high, right? And so when you have these sky high property values, having equally high interest rates makes the payments so far above rent that you can't get any owner finance buyers. So I understand it's a terrible world out there, right? We're still really, like, I originated one this past year. I got 10.5%. Was that good? I mean, I've been seeing people bringing me 11.5%, 12%, but it's on lower priced properties. And these are properties not in Austin proper, obviously. If you got a $300,000 property, yeah, you're going to be lucky to get 9.5%, 10%. And so would I go lower than that? No, I wouldn't, because you're going to take a huge haircut if you ever need to sell this thing. Monthly payment. Yeah, you want to know what that monthly payment is. And a lot of investors will look at that. You know, how much money am I having to put out versus how much money am I getting every month? Regardless of what the yield is, I've got investors who just look at that. Length of loan. Some people care. I do not. I literally, you bring me a 15-year note, cool. You bring me a 30-year, great. People are like, do you have to have a balloon on it? I prefer not. Why? Because I'm a lazy investor. A lazy investor doesn't want to do work in 5 years when that balloon comes due and I have to do a loan mod. No, that stuff pisses me off. Give me a 30-year fixed. Totally happy. I'll be like, 80 when the thing pays off. Very, very cool. I'm like, that's fine. I won't care then. Borrower credit. For most private investors, like if I'm going to sell a one-off, which I do, I've got like a handful of investors that I sell a one-off to. Do I love them? Absolutely. Why? They buy at par. It's great. They'll pay 100% for the note. Love these guys to death. How often am I doing that? Obviously, it's a one-off. It's not. If you're trying to do, $2 to $5 million a month, which is always my goal, to do 2 to 5 million, I've got to sell to institutions which are never buying at par. And I love that people are like, I just sold my note for 102%. You sold your one single note for 102%. You're what's called a liar. Okay? That is not a real thing. That's a liar. And the reason why that you're not selling one single note for 102%, because what if that note pays off 1 month later? They've now made a loss. And they've made a loss immediately. They literally have to assume that they're going to hold that note if they're paying par for it, yeah, at least they're paying the same amount. So even if they get one monthly payment, it's good. If they're going to pay anything over par, they're going to want to know for sure that they're going to hold that note for probably 6 to 12 months to actually get a profit on it. Otherwise, they've just tied up their capital for nothing. So every time I see that with somebody blabbing their mouth, some guru out there, something that's for 102. No, you don't. You absolutely do not do that. So again, just know that is not a real thing. What do I sell most notes at? 95 to 97 to my institutional buyers. And these are people who've been doing this for a really long time and know everything. So down payment amount, very important. You want to have a minimum of 10% on any notes that you originate. And note buyers will look for that, especially if the note is new. If you got a note that hasn't been seasoned 12 months, they're going to want to know that borrower has skin in the game. So always make sure that your down payment is there. Note servicing fees. Note buyers want to know that the borrower is paying those fees. So always make sure when you set up your owner finance transactions that you set it up with a note servicer from the beginning and you say in the contract that the borrower is responsible to pay those fees. If you can get it written in the deed of trust, even better. I have it written into all of my deeds of trust. So you definitely want to do that. Steps to originating a note. Identify the property to be sold, condition, location, value. You know, again, you can owner finance anything. And I do mean anything. And honestly, the crappier probably the better. Because you're going to have some handyman that's going to want to buy it at a discount. And again, you're buying it at a steeper discount, you're selling it at a higher amount. You're going to still take your 10% down, and you're going to try to get at least, in this market, at least 10% interest. The higher the better. Advertise for sale. Yard signs, typically that's all you need. Put it in the front. I always tell people the messier the better. When I'm selling a house, people who are buying owner finance do not want a professional. So if you scribble in your worst handwriting, owner will finance, no bank, like 3 bedrooms, and definitely use. I'm right-handed, so use your left hand, and then put your number down there. You will be shocked at how fast your phone will ring. You make it look nice, you're not gonna get that many calls. Facebook Marketplace, yeah. MLS and agents. I do have a couple of agents that I work with in the Dallas area. I'm sure they're around here too. Call around to your real estate investment groups. I'm sure there is some Hispanic agent running around that somebody has dealt with owner financing, and they've got a slew of buyers. They speak Spanish, and those are the buyers you want anyways. Negotiate terms, prepare a contract. We're just talking about the 1-4 family and a seller financing addendum. You don't need to get fancy. Don't go in. There's a couple of attorneys running around here, especially they're in Austin, they're in Dallas, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to sign out this 50-page addendum." You don't need that. Just these two, and they're on Trek. You can get them for free if you're not a realtor. Just go to the trek.gov website and download them for free. Hire professionals for everything. Once you get past, do you have to have a licensed realtor bring you an owner finance buyer? No. Do you have to, can you do it yourself? Yes, you can put signs out. I used to put signs out at Walmart, Home Depot, and if it was a fancy house, then it was Target and Lowe's. So you're gonna hire professionals. RMLO, Residential Mortgage Loan Originator. I like Texas Pride Lending. They give me a great report. They're beautiful. Texas Pride Lending is who you should Google. Always, you get your contract, and then you email the contract to them with the buyer's contact information, and they take care of all of the rest. And then you send all of that to your title company, and they take care of it. Like, you send the contract to the title company, they open up title. Texas Pride Lending talks to your title company, everybody communicates. Yes, you've got to make sure that everybody has what they want, and you've got to make sure that you sign all the necessary disclosures, but they will make sure your closing is done legally. So attorney and title company, very important. And then finally, before you close, note servicer. There's a bunch here local in Austin. I use August REI, which I love. They're up in Dallas. They're statewide. In fact, they're more than just in the state of Texas. They're outside of the state of Texas. But again, make sure you're using a note servicer. Why? Your borrower pays for it. Then you're in compliance. Then all the IRS reporting is done for you. All of the mortgage statements are done for you. You get to log in to your account and just see how awesome you are and how much money you're getting every month. It's like really fun. Avoiding legal trouble. Use professionals. I'm gonna say that a lot. Just always use a professional. Buyer pays fees. Always buyer pays fees, right? They don't want to go to a bank to get a loan. Cool. I'm doing you a favor. I'm selling you this house, and I'm gonna take payments. They're gonna pay all the costs. Transfer ownership. No contract for deed in Texas. It is shocking the amount of contracts for deed I am still sent that are done by attorneys. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, that piece of paper is not worth anything. And they're like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, contract for deed has been illegal for, I don't know, 30 some years in the state of Texas. You can get it changed into a deed of trust and a mortgage. And I have people sending me humongous spreadsheets of this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going to go do all that work for you. Once you change it into a deed of trust and a mortgage note, I'm happy to look at that. But just know, transfer ownership. Don't worry about that deed due on sale clause. Okay? If it happens, it happens. Sell the note. It's not going to happen like the second that you do it. They're probably, especially if it's a big bank, they're not even going to notice that you sold it. So don't worry about transferring ownership at all. Due on sale and land trust. One of the answer is putting properties into a land trust and then owner financing them. I hate this. And the reason for that is it turns the property into a corporation. So your poor borrower, right, then needs to buy a commercial insurance policy and not a residential. And then they can't homestead the property. So now they're screwed. They're doubly screwed. They're screwed on taxes and they're screwed on insurance, which we all know are terrible anyways. So if you do that to the homeowner, they can't afford this house. So I would say avoid a land trust at all possible causes. Now, if you get called on a due on sale and you're like, I don't want to sell this note. I can't. I love it. I just love this note, right? You're emotionally attached to a piece of paper, which is ridiculous. But let's say you are. If you are, then you could reverse out of the transaction if you had everybody's agreement, right? You had your borrower's agreement. You're like, hey, we're going to be foreclosed on. We don't want this. Let's reverse out of this transaction, put it into a land trust, and then redo the owner finance transaction. That is an option, but it's crap. And I mean, it does raise the costs, and the borrower needs to know that. Creating the best note possible. Good down payment. Talked about that. Minimum 10%. Good loan to value. 80% loan to value is your max. Minimum 20% equity. High interest rate. If you can get 12%, awesome. I've seen as much as 14 and 15%, but of course that's on lower price properties. I know. I'm like, who the hell is paying this? By the way, I had somebody try to sell me a 25% note, and I'm like, okay, not going to touch that because usury in Texas is 18%. They're going to come down and fine you to no end if you're charging 25% interest like a credit card on it. So don't do that. But honestly, even now, 11, 12, it's great. I'm going to give you an awesome deal on your note if you've got 11 or 12%. Realistic PITI. All right, I left this in here. I almost took it out for this. It used to be 10 years ago that you had to work to get that PITI up, right? It was way below what rent was. And so you would work to get that up. Now, PITI is above what rent is. And I think people know that. And if they want to buy a house, they're savvy enough to go, property values are going to go up. Yeah, my taxes and insurance are going to go up. But eventually, it's going to be below rent. And I might feel pain for 5 years. But eventually, it's going to come down below that. And so I think if you can kind of explain that, or you have somebody looking, going, okay, I want to buy a house anyways, even though I'm going to pay $500 to $1,000 more per month than what I could rent it for, they're still going to do it. Amortization, as I said before, doesn't matter. Honestly, you want to do a 40-year AM just to get it affordable? Do a 40-year. I'll buy the crap out of that thing. I would love a 40-year. After I've learned, I'm like, oh my God, I love these 40-year AM notes. These are great. Balloon. Everybody wants to know this. No, I don't want a balloon. Some people love them. I look at it as more work. But again, the minimum balloon for an owner-occupant is 60 months. So just know that you're not going to get, it's still going to be a minimum of 5 years. And again, if you've had it that long and you just want to sell it, sell it. Transaction available. So this is the gold, especially for everybody new wanting to do stuff. So let's say your sales price is $250. I know people in Austin have to do a lot higher That's fine. That's fine. Austinites have to pay a lot more. Go out into like the country. You know what I'm talking about. You're gonna find that shack thing, whatever. $250,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath shack somewhere. Down payment $25,000. It's 10%. People are always like, do people have that? The last one I did, she had $65K that she put down on a $245,000 house. So, and it's not uncommon. I've seen people come in with like brown paper grocery bags filled with cash. Now we did send them away. We said they had to go get some money orders at least, like go get money orders, something. And I think they had to go to like multiple places because it was like so much cash. People were like, what are we doing here? You know, you're totally laundering money for somebody. I still sold my house. I was like, it's green. I'll take it. So you keep the $25K, leaving finance $225, which is 90%. Remember what I said? What's our max? 80%. So you want to create a first lien, right? So you got $200,000 in the first lien, which gives you $1,900 a month, right? So that little crappy 2-1 that you just sold for $250,000, I don't know how in Austin, but you did. All of a sudden you're getting $1,900, and then you've got a second lien for $25,000, which is going to give you $238 a month. But what is the cost to buy the property, right? Because you bought this property, you've got some money into it, you got some debt sitting there. And so let's say you owe $175,000. Now I gave this in this example an 8.5% interest rate. Okay, yeah, can you do better than that? Absolutely. Like I heard somebody was giving out 6.5%, 7% recently to investors, which is phenomenal. 8.5%, you can definitely. You can go get that in your sleep with like a 500 credit score. So 8.5% for 30 years is $1,345. Total monthly profit is your $1,904 minus your $1,345 plus your $238, right? Your second lien, which gives you almost $800 a month profit. And remember, there's no holding back for repairs. There's no vacancies. There's no make readies. There's none of that. There's no vandalism. There's no worries at night. They just make this payment every month to your note servicer that you're not paying for. And all you do is wait for your little text message to pop up and go, you've made money. It's really happy. So, selling your note. If you're going to sell it, your sales price is based on note value, not after repair value. Just remember that. So if you're going to sell it 90% of unpaid principal balance, based on a max LTV of 80%, right? So you're going to sell that first lien. Again, we're going to go with that $250 sale with 10% down. There's our first lien, same numbers as last. You're going to sell the lien for $180,000 and pay off the underlying debt, right? And what were we into before? 175, something like that. So you're going to pay off the 180, get $5,000. Keep the second lien for $238 a month cash flow. Now remember that $238, you've just created complete debt-free cash flow because you've sold off that first lien that paid off all your debt on that property. So now you're keeping the second lien that is just paying you every month, and you have no debt and no worries. If they don't pay that second, do you have to run out and worry about how you're going to come up with the money for your underlying lien? Absolutely not, because it's not yours. It's paid off. It's no longer your responsibility. You just get to collect this. I do have a bunch of these. How many do I have that are? I've got some that have been performing 9-10 years, so they're great. Total deal profit. You got 30,000 cash, right? You got the 25,000, then the 5,000 done for when you sold the first lien. Plus, you've got 238 per month cash flow and no debt. And the no debt is the important thing when you're looking at this. Do we get why it's no debt? Hello? No? Do we get why no debt? I'm talking. Yes, you made a funny face when I said a no debt. You right there. She's like, maybe I don't want to talk. That's fine. The reason why there's no debt is because you're selling that first lien, and that first lien pays off all of your debt. And so you're left with just your second lien that's making you $238 per month.
If you're selling it for 180 and you actually, if the value is 200, how are you making 5,000?
No, 175 is your original.
That's what you put into it. You're into it for 175.
Ah, okay. So it's
You
not,
you've stole it for 250. And you've got $25,000 cash that you took at the beginning of that transaction. You get to keep that cash.
okay, but it still assumes that the house appreciated from one.
No, there's no appreciation there. No. In fact, the house probably appreciates more from where you sold it. It's assuming that when you sell that house for 250, that house was worth 250. You're taking 10% down, which leaves 90%. Taking 10% off of that, and you're selling out that 80%, and that pays off your acquisition. Unless you're somebody who's paying 90% for acquiring property.
So is the homeowner paying a bunch of different servicers?
No. Well, they could if you sell it and they switch servicers. Typically, especially if I'm holding on to that second lien, I'm going to try to keep that servicing there.
Are they having to make 2 payments or does the servicer?
It's having to make 2 payments. All right, hold on. Yeah. All right, so building your owner finance business. Start conservative. Goal of 5 properties this year. Can you do 5 properties? Can you find 5 of these? And I would encourage you, if you want to do 5, find 5 that need no rehab. Okay? And they're there. Don't tell me they're not, right? And by no rehab, what do I mean about that? Does it have wood paneling from the 70s? It could. Do you need to take that down or paint it? No. Right? You want to make sure that the roof is good, the foundation is good, the HVAC is good, the plumbing is good, the electrical is good. If those 5 things are good, do you care that it has flower wallpaper from 1982? You do not, right? And you're going to owner finance it. And you can owner finance it at top dollar because there's not a lot of choice out there for people who don't want to go to a bank. And there are so many people who don't trust banks and don't want it. So 5 houses with 250,000, that's 1.25 million that you're going to buy in property. I know, sounds like a big number, right? At the end of the year, you've made $150,000 cash. How does that number come? Remember, one house at $250,000 got us $30,000, $25,000 down payment, and then $5,000 when we sold that loan, right? That makes $30,000. So at the end, you've made $150,000 cash, and you've created an income of $1,190.40. That's that 238 multiplied by 5.
And 8.5% interest?
What?
That was at the 8.5% interest?
No, that's your underlying that you sold off.
Do you sell right away?
You usually need to season, like 6 to 12 months before you sell. Yeah, so you'll make the $700 or $800, in the beginning until you sell. So yeah, you'll make even more than this. This is based on if you sold immediately. So in 2024, with only 5 houses, you'll make $150,000 cash plus $14,000 and change per year reoccurring for doing nothing. And that happens for the next 3 years or until they pay you off, which if you're like me, I get very irritated when people pay me off because I'm like, I just need this for sleeping and I just want $14,000. Yeah. So, and that is doing this method with no debt. And why do I push the no debt method for this? Because money is finite. And so you're going to have 1 or 2 great relationships with some millionaire dude who wants to invest in you. But does he have more than 1.25 million? He might not, right? He might only have $500,000. So you got to go find another 1 or 2 guys to be able to get you the amount of cash that you need to get you to your 5 houses. And that's just your first year. Once you do a few of these and you figure out, oh my God, this is pretty easy. And you figure out how it works and all the pieces that go into it, then you're like, Okay, well, how many can I do? Okay, the question is, how much money can you find? It's how many people do you know that want to lend you $250,000 to go buy a house? Well, not quite 250, right? It's 75% of that. And again, how many deals can you negotiate at a really good price? You all are super close to San Antonio. San Antonio, this is great. They're still getting stuff at 60 cents on the dollar down there, which shocks me. I mean, absolutely, and it's decent. I mean, it's not like it's like a hovel or anything like that. It's crazy. Dallas, we're expensive. You know, yeah, you can buy something gross for less. How am I doing on time?
Good.
How much more?
30.
What was it?
10 minutes or so?
10 minutes. All right. We'll get through as much of this while we can. Oh, no. Again, this is when you're just starting out, and this is a great way to build up your note portfolio. And if you've got underlying debt that you don't have to pay off, I mean, technically, you could do this with hard money, especially if you waited and seasoned these notes 6 months and then sold the note after that. You could absolutely do this with hard money, which is very prevalent. If you went and got like a DSCR loan and wrapped that, I mean, those guys are giving it away at what, 6.5%, 7%? Those are 30-year notes. So you could just wrap your 30-year note with this method and just hold on to it for as long as you wanted to. And in that case, you're making what, $800 a month in this example? And so you don't need as many to get that major cash flow, you know, and you're still going to get to keep $25,000 in cash up front down, you know, because you're going to get your 10% down. Can you do this with higher homes? The most expensive home I've ever done it with is $2 million. I did it with a $795,000 house. Are those, you know, the regular? No. Obviously, there's a ton of buyers at your absolute lowest level. So like right now, I look for like 200 to 250. I mean, I love those houses. Anything newer, I mean, do I want a pool? No, I absolutely don't want to mess around with a pool. Would I like it to be brick? I love it to be brick. You know, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, brick house, plain Jane, 250, and I am all in for anything that I find like that.
How about mobile homes?
Okay, some mobile homes, you can't sell the notes on those. So if you're going to go do a mobile home, know that you're keeping that in your portfolio. And it's not that you can't. You absolutely can. But mobile homes, one, you have to make sure that it's not chattel. So in a mobile home in Texas is chattel. It's a car. It's a boat.
Unless it's registered.
Unless you surrender it to the land. And you have to surrender it, and you have to go through that process. What I'm finding is when I go look at mobile home notes and I go and find out like I go to that piece of land and I look at the county website, 9 times out of 10 it was never surrendered. And I might be going back. I got bamboozled by one, and I ended up buying it. And we tried to go back and get that thing like surrendered to the land, and it went back 3 owners that it had never. And the reason I was bamboozled because like I saw it on MLS and it specifically said this house, like you were buying the house, you weren't buying the land. Well, it all came with it. But even if you do that, don't go, oh, MLS knows. They don't. And it went back 3 sales. Wow. So yeah. What happens when the note goes bad? You send out a 20-day notice. How soon can you do that? Talk to your note servicer. Once they start being habitually
What do
late,
you mean goes back?
like if they stop paying,
They stop paying.
yeah, they stop
Okay.
paying. Can this happen? People always want to know, like right now, the default rate has ticked up. It was before the pandemic, it was like 1.86%. That's not a lot. I mean, it's really not. And people are always like, oh, owner finance mortgage notes, they go bad all the time. I got them going, like, I've got some that are going since like 2009 right now. They don't go bad. I mean, I have very few go bad. anyways, so it was one point, I think it's maybe up to like 3.5% right now of notes in default. So, and know that this is a possibility that they might stop making payments. And what do? You send out a 20-day notice. Typically, I like to send it out after they're 60 days behind. So once the 20-day notice goes, if they haven't cured it by the time that 90th day rolls around, then I'm in there filing for foreclosure. Right there. Eviction if necessary. And then you're going to resell the property, either re-own or finance it, or just stick it on MLS and sell it, or you could wholesale it. Like, let's say it needs, like they jacked it up and you know, need to do repairs. Again, that's where your loan to value when you're buying notes or setting them up is very important, because you want to make sure that you're covered. I can tell you most times you're going to come out a winner. And there's a certain gentleman here in Austin who I love having drinks with, but you know, he's an old cat in the note business. And he's got tons of little people following him around, little minions. And we do not have, he is like, people love him. That's great. He's fun. But we don't have the same outlook on it. I don't want a note to ever go bad. He loves them to go bad. He's like one of those used car guys down that puts a low jack on the car and then puts people in a car they can't afford, takes a huge down payment, and then puts them in a monthly payment they can't afford, and then follows them around with a low jack. And then the second they don't make their payment, he like takes the car back and then resells it. And if you look at that title, it's been like sold like 20 times in like the last 2 years. He's that version of, but with homes. So again, I'm not that, like, we have a different, like, just whole look on the whole thing. But I can tell you, if you have to get the property back, a lot of times you do, because you get to take another 10% down. So you do make money. Other methods, I have not actually foreclosed on anything since 2009. I stopped doing it because she files bankruptcy. And she did it 3 times on me in a row, and it took me 13 months to get the house back. So now I'm a big believer in cash for keys. Love cash for keys. I can get somebody out for $1,500, $2,000 bucks. They're excited to get like this money, and then they give me keys and they sign a warranty deed over. And it's usually super fast. I'm like, you're not going to get caught up. And they're like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, I'm going to give you this money. And they're like, oh, that'll like totally change my life. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So again, it's usually a win-win to just offer people cash. Get the keys. $1,500, $2,000. Yeah, it is. It's literally all that it takes. You're talking about people who are paycheck to paycheck. They can't live. All they need is something. They need $1,000 deposit to go put down to rent something.
I want 5.
Is it worth it? If somebody goes, I want $5,000, and I know that I'm gonna be taking another 25 grand down,
I want 50.
probably not 50.
Okay.
Then you pay the $2,000 to the foreclosure attorney, and you foreclose on them. That's the whole thing. It's time and it's money, right? I'm gonna pay $2,000 to this attorney, and it's still gonna take what, 2 months to get them out if they don't really fight it. Or I can give them $2,000 right away, and they can leave immediately and just sign it back over to me. I just look at I look at everything on a money cost type thing like that. So cash for keys. We are like, just tell me when we need to stop, because there's a ton of this. Non-performing notes. Remember what I said? 99% of investors are into this. Why? And I do these. Don't think that I would like in a turn of a way, because they do make a lot of money. I just don't actively, this is not what Capricorn does. But for me, if somebody throws one of these at me, yeah, I'm going to stash it up, especially if it's good. Sure. NPN, NPA, NPL. All of it means non-performing note, non-performing asset, non-performing loan. All the same thing. Depends on who you're picking up the phone and calling in what part of the country and what they're used to. You call somebody up in New York City, which I do all the time, because guess what? They think Texas is backwater. So they find a Texas note, they're like, oh, I don't even want to jack around with going to Texas. Like, what the hell goes on down there, right? And so, like, you call them up, you're like, you got any Texas notes? They're like, oh yeah, all you can handle. Here you go. So yeah, I love calling those guys up, and they can be highly profitable, but also very risky. Remember that, right? Risk versus reward. If you're going to make a ton of money on something, it's probably kind of risky what you're doing. So when you're starting out, start with something cheap that you don't really, you're gambling a bit, right? You don't know what you're doing. You're kind of guessing. Maybe it's going to be a 10 that comes out. Maybe it's a 2. Do I care? I don't know. I'm going to put $400 on this and see. 95. I said, it's probably more like 99. When you're doing this, the number one thing that these investors get into are loan modifications. I don't like these as a note buyer. But what they will do, because they don't want to pay for an RMLO and they don't want to pay for new documents, and a loan mod is super easy. It's one document. It doesn't do anything to title. It just modifies the existing loan. And so what they can do is take all of those back payments that these people have missed. They can add that up, right? So they're going to take all of that, add it to the unpaid principal balance, maybe lower their interest rate, maybe extend out the term. They get to keep their house. Their monthly payment is lower, right? So maybe this investor, they paid the same amount of money, but now this investor is taking less per month, but he's still keeping the same people in that want to keep the house. And so that's what a lot of non-performing note investors go for. And again, just extending out your term and lowering your interest rate. I mean, you can get real creative with the numbers, and it's shocking how cheap you can get some monthly payments just by doing that. Short sale. This is the best one. Short sale is super fun. Why? And everybody hates short sales, right? I hate short sales. I hate doing them. Except in this case, you are the bank. You are the lender. You make the decisions. So you buy this non-performing note. You call the person up and go, hi, I'm your new lender. And they're like, listen, we really want to sell, but the best offer we've got is like $90,000. And you're like, well, I just paid $60,000 for this thing. And you're like, okay, let's do it, right? And so you just approve it right there and you make $30,000 and it's super fast. That happens more times than you would think. It's great. Happened to me only once, but it was lovely. Foreclosure. This is probably where it's going to end up, right? You're going to cash for keys or foreclosure. Definitely. We've already talked about that. Pitfalls. Unpaid property taxes. Right? If they haven't paid their property taxes, you are on the hook for those. If you're going to take that property back, taxes still need to be paid. Those don't go away. Unpaid water bills. I literally got stuck with one of these today. I believed in the county. I didn't think in Texas it was possible. I literally didn't. And I got this today on the drive down here. It pissed me off. I go, wait, what is this? Wait, what? Yeah, $3,300 in unpaid water bills from the owner, which is now mine.
For how long?
I don't know. I have no information. I didn't even think that was possible. I'm like, that's on that dude. That's not. I don't like own the property now. That goes on that dude. In a lot of places, yeah, no. I didn't know that it was possible in Texas.
Shut off the water.
Yes, thank you. That is a you problem. That is not a me problem. They're making it a me problem. So apparently I'm paying $3,300. But in a lot of municipalities, especially in the Northeast, and in like the Iron Belt, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, all of those, the water bill goes with the property, not with the person. So you need to call whoever that municipality is hanging out with water and make sure before you buy that note how much that water bill is, because I guarantee you if they're not paying their mortgage, they're not paying their water bill either. IRS tax liens, these don't go away. These are not something to be scared of. It's super easy. You can't just foreclose on them though. You have to send like a notice. It takes 45 days. You send this notice to the IRS, and then they're like, okay, once you have it, you send it like certified with like return receipt. You get the receipt back, then you can foreclose. but you have to foreclose. You can't do a deed in lieu. A lot of times I'll go do the deed in lieu cash for keys anyways. And then if I find that IRS tax lien, I'll go through the foreclosure process. But that way I kind of know that they're not going to show up and contest it or file bankruptcy or anything like that. I have to do it anyways. Property condition in ARV, we don't get to know our property condition ever. So you're buying something sight unseen. Put that in there. Expect that I don't care. Put $30 a foot for rehab and be pleasantly surprised if it needs none. Most of these, if there's somebody living in the house, it's not going to be that bad. Usually. I bought one 2 years ago and I'm like, oh, it's like a single mom and her 2 little girls. Like one of them was 2 years old. I'm like, it's not going to be fine. I kid you not. The ceramic tile was completely broken up everywhere. And it was in like the kitchen and the living room and it was all shattered, like sharp. And I'm like, there's a 2-year-old that's been crawling on this. And I mean, like, if I had walked around on bare feet, I would have been bloody. So I'm like, how is this even possible? Again, expect the worst. Doesn't always coming. Basic human nature. I mean by this, if they haven't been making their payments and all of a sudden they haven't made their payments for 3 or 4 years, and I've seen some notes they haven't made payments for 7 years. Guess what? They're not all of a sudden, if you mod them, they're going to like start making their payments. They're not. If you get them to bring a bunch of money to the table to do it, possibly, but the likelihood is that they're, basic human nature says they're used to not paying their bills and living for free. They're going to continue that. Judicial versus non-judicial states. We're non-judicial state, very easy to foreclose. A lot of other states are judicial. Research that. If you get somebody who wants to sell you a non-performing note in, say, Detroit, by the way, there's a lot available there. Know how long it's going to take to foreclose on that, and make sure that whoever is lending you money for this, go, okay, I'm going to need this for, it could be 18 to 24 months. Are you good with that? And make sure you give them the worst case scenario when you find an investor or a private investor who's willing to lend you money to buy that non-performing note, to know that, hey, they're not going to get their investment back right away. Because again, yeah, we can foreclose in 60, 90 days here in Texas, but there are other states, it's 12 to 18 months. And so you need to know how long it's going to be. And then do you have to evict after that? And how long does it take to evict? Foreclosure process differs state to state. Eviction process differs state to state. So steps to buying a non-performing note: research the property and the documents. Chances are you are going to have no idea what you're reading. If the person, one thing I like to do is find a local realtor and pay him $50 to drive by the house and find out if they're still there. If it's vacant, so much easier. You're basically buying an REO if it's already vacant and nobody's living there, right? So you're just going to take over this note. You're going to go through the foreclosure process. You're not going to have to worry about somebody, contesting it at all, because all the notices are going to go to that house and they don't live there anymore. So you can just foreclose, get the house back. Those are typically the ones I'm going to want to go after. But again, research your property and your documents. By looking at your documents, look at what that interest rate is. Because if you get in there and the borrower doesn't want to keep the house, and they basically insist on you loan modding them instead of foreclosing or doing, cash for keys or something, if they're at a 4% interest, can you get them to a 10% interest? Probably not. And not to keep their payments lower than what they currently are. So a lot of times, if I would consider a loan mod for a non-performing note, I'm going to be looking for something that's like at least an 8 or 9% already. And then I'll go in and I would modify that note, to a 10 or 11%, extend it out, sometimes even I'll decrease the principal amount if I buy it cheap enough, right? Order a BPO. Most companies, there's a bunch around, $100, $150. Make offer and agree on price. When you're making offer on these things, what's the going rate? Pre-COVID, I was picking these things up Texas is more expensive. Just know that. But 60 cents on the dollar for a non-performing note is really great. For the examples, I'm using 50 cents. I've picked them up so low as like 30 cents before. So again, kind of gauge what it is, where whoever is selling you this, where do they invest? Because it might be one or two offs that are in Texas and all of their stuff is in, Florida, and they don't want this stuff. And they just might be willing to get rid of it for 30 cents on the dollar. So be willing to go after that. Wire funds to the seller, receive hard filed documents, and then you're going to work out your NPN with one of the strategies. This is an actual one. 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath. I love the picture of this house. $90,000 original balance, $682 monthly PI, $835 interest rate. The last payment date, this is a couple of years old for this example, was 2016. I think at the time it was like 4 years since they made a payment. I think it was like from 2020. So their unpaid principal balance, $78,875. BPO comes back at 98. So how much to offer? You're going to offer, and again, you can do 50-50. You can do 50% on either of these. So you're going to look at what the UPB is, your unpaid principal balance, or your BPO. And whichever one is lower, you're going to take 50% of that number. And again, ask what the pricing expectation is. When COVID hit, I thought that we were just going to get, it's like going to be a plethora of these things. And I was just going to be bathing in like non-performing notes and it was going to be great. They're just raining down on me. No, these people wanted like 90% of value. And I'm like, who's going to pay you 90% for a non-performing note? When I'm like used to paying 50 cents on the dollar, I'm not paying anybody 90%. So costs have come down for them still. Texas, I'm still seeing them wanting like 75%. But that's a lot of times because the unpaid principal balance, like the loan to value is like 40 cents on the dollar. So it does make sense. Make sure and look, hey, if this thing is worth 200, am I willing to pay $50,000 for this note? Yeah, probably, right? Because you're still protected and you can still make money on it. BPO, broker price opinion. So it's basically a desktop appraisal. So you cannot get inside the house. So you call and you get somebody to do something outside the house. Second one, so this is the loan mod strategy. We're going to say that the purchase price for this thing, remember it's worth like $98,000. You get to buy it for $47,000. I think that was the purchase price of it. I don't really remember. So we've got loan mod. We're going to loan mod them to a $70,000, 9% interest rate. Just jacked them up half a point. 30 years at that, and we get a 14% return on investment, right? And that's super easy. You buy it, you loan mod it, you get them paying right away. That's not what we did. Short sales strategy. Yeah, this is the good one. You're going to approve it really quick, approve a $65,000 sales price, $17,675 profit, or 37% return on investment. These are great. I said it's only happened once. It wasn't this one. This last one, this is what happened. And it actually was the best one, right? Still, this is also a lot of work to do deed in lieu, and you got to resell it. You got a purchase price 47, BPO or the appraisal of the property 98. Paid $5,000 for cash for keys, sold it as is. Sold for $80,000 and just sold it on MLS. Wow. Profit 27,000, 58% return on investment. And so this right there is why you find so many non-performing note investors. And when you're first getting started in this, you're trying to build cash, right? Yeah. And you want to build cash so then you can buy just notes whole and just keep them, right? But in the beginning, you don't have enough money to do that. And so you've got to start slowly and do this, but then you pool your cash together from multiple sales, and then you can have notes that are just sitting in your portfolio making you money. Steps to buying a performing mortgage. All right, we're into this. collect documents, research property, order your BPO, make offer and agree on price. Yep, we're gonna wrap it up. Contract note sale, verify all documents, correct any complete note sale, set up note servicing, blah, 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 blah. That's what I do. Sometimes my sales take 3 days. Sometimes I've got sales that take 3 months. It just depends on how bad those documents are, how many corrections. We're not going to talk about this. There's a ton of stuff. Hold on. If you want to take a photo, there you go. Those are documents you need. It's all boring. That's not exciting. Those are the parts of a note sale. Cool. You can ask me about that later. How to bid. Offering is done on a percentage of unpaid principal balance, different than a non-performing. Why? Because the performing mortgages are constantly making payments. And so if they make a payment, that means that unpaid principal balance goes down. And as soon as that goes down, that note is less valuable as soon as that goes. So a 97% unpaid principal balance on that, for 132 would be 128. That's typically what I would sell, like to an institution. Example of a performing mortgage, cool. Appraised value, 69% LTV. That's a great LTV. Anything 75% or less is really great. 80% is the max. This one's at a 7% interest rate. Even if you paid par for this thing, your 336 remaining payments are going to pay you $300,000. So, you're making money right out. Typically a 30-year mortgage is going to pay you 3 times whatever that original sales price was. So you're going to make 3 times that as the mortgage note holder. Your profit, 170 on this. And this is if you pay par for it. So do I have par investors? Yeah. I've got a handful of people that just pay par because they know they're going to make money. Wholesaling mortgage notes. You need cash to close, so just call me. Seriously, you find a mortgage note. I'm not the only one. There's other people. I don't know how many people close. There's never a note if I make a contract on it, I close. I have in one time in the last 7 years, I went and I said, I can't do it for the price I quoted you one time. I've got some right now that I'm probably going to make like $500 on, and it's terrible. I've done like 3 months of work and I'll make no money. But I don't like to have the reputation of not meeting my price. So know your product, blah, 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 build your network. There you go. Questions? I know it's late, and Vivian's like, I gotta go. Vivian's like,
Well, where's Amanda?
she's back there.
Oh,
She's listening.
she's got to wrap up and everything.
Yeah, I know. She's like, gotta wrap
Let's
up.
do 3 questions.
Okay.
Okay, so what if the buyer
Yeah.
that now is in the house, what if they want to get out of their loan? That's the part that's that I'm missing.
What do you mean they want to get out of it?
Well, like they want to now go buy something else.
Then they sell their house.
Then they sell their house.
Like, do you have a mortgage? Do you own a house?
Yes,
And you have a mortgage,
yes,
and you want to get out of that mortgage.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go sell that house,
that makes sense.
and then it pays that off,
Okay.
and then you're free to go do whatever you want.
So when you have your investors, then at the end of whatever time you have the note, or till you sell it, that's when you pay your investor. You pay them out.
No, well, so if you're making monthly payments to your investor, you're just wrapping around that. It's the same as if you had a conventional mortgage. Your private lender, all right, so like a hard money loan, right? You buy a house with a hard money loan, you're paying 12% interest only per month, right? For easy numbers, it's a $100,000 house, 12% interest only, you're paying $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
All right, well, you're gonna go wrap around that, and you're gonna sell $150,000 at 10% interest, and that's gonna bring you, this is not a real number, $1,400 a month, right? You're paying $1,000 and you're getting $1,400, so you keep that $400 profit. You can keep doing that as long as your underlying lender is happy.
Got it.
Which is why if you have a 30-year fixed and you wrap another 30-year fixed around it, that's a beautiful thing. Because then you don't ever have to sell it unless they call you up and they're like, what are you doing? I'm gonna call you. Yeah.
For your private money lenders, how do you get them? How are they secured? With
First lien deed of trust. First lien deed of trust.
They're in first lien?
Of course.
The hard money or the private money?
Both. This is a wrap. So the wrap is technically a second lien. Even though, but it's attached, it's wrapped around, that's where it comes from, right? Here's your hard money, and you wrap around your hard money so that you can get all of that interest, that extra interest that's floating around there. Because you're charging with your wrap, you're charging 10%. This guy is only charging you 6%. And you want to capture that extra 4% on that bottom 75%.
So you're getting like private money lenders with the full amount of the house.
Oh yeah. I'm a big believer in OPM. I pay nothing. I'm like, I need 100% loan all the time. Yeah. And people are like, why should I do that? And I'm like, because it's
they're
me.
protected because they
Yeah.
basically own the house. They're in first
They are first lien. They own a piece of paper because private lenders don't want to own a house. They want to own the debt to the house, and they are first lien. So they are paid off first. You are paid off second with your wrap. Yeah.
Can I use my self-directed IRA to buy notes?
Yes. I got some for sale. I got some for sale. I got some little
I'm
ones.
gonna sell all my assets right now. I have duplexes. I'm gonna split them into condos and then owner finance them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then I'd be out of the midterm rental game.
And is that so bad right now? Is it bad? Is that a bad thing? Yesterday, if you watched me on Quest, because I was on a panel, I'm like, short-term rentals are not good right now. I'm like, they suck. Anyways, yes. You want to sell me your note? I want to buy it.
Awesome,
we'll talk
guys.
here in a few minutes. Yeah.
Man,
Oh, one more
okay,
question.
one more.
One more.
I forgot my question. So can you own or finance a 1031 exchange property?
No. 1031 exchange, no. Pay your taxes. You know what's worse than having to pay taxes? Not having to pay taxes because you don't make any money and you're poor and you can't buy a yacht.
Oh my God. Guys, thank Kristin for coming in from Dallas. Thank you so much. If you guys are like, your minds are blown, just put up your hands. Yeah. So I'm so excited you came up here tonight. So thank you.
Yay! Always, anything for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, our next meetup is May the first Thursday of May. So we have a speaker. I can't remember who it is. Wait, hold on. I'll tell you who it is.
I'm totally posting this everywhere.
May 2nd?
I don't. Is it May 2nd? It will be. Oh, she just gave me this. Haley Johns, private lending and being a hard money lender.
Ooh.
So
Remember, you lie to that one. You don't tell her what you're doing.
yeah. Awesome. If you guys wouldn't mind cleaning up, do we need help with the chairs? Okay. Yeah, just take your trash to the trash and then let's get out of.
Is this recording?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we're done.
Yes.
And we'll get out of my hair.
House guys.